Rated E10 for ages 10 and up.
So we are here today with 4 of the original people who worked on the very first Secrets Can Kill game. Megan, our CEO. What were you back when we made Secrets Can Kill?
I was the creative director when I got hired in 1997, and then Robert was
program manager, and I had been recruited from the accounting department.
In Albuquerque.
Yeah, in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Kris was hired as a 2D artist, and I came in to work with Tim,
who was also a contract artist, and then kind of took over the 3D part at the very tail end of the project.
Did you know anything about creating games when you first started on Secrets Can Kill?
I did a little. I made games when I was a kid. When I got my first computer, all I did was make games for it, especially adventure type of text-based games. So I know just a little, but definitely not enough. I was really surprised and overwhelmed by the amount of work that it took to make a computer game.
I used to do computer day camps with my father, who taught us to program games in BASIC, but beyond that, no.
Oh, I played a lot of computer games, but mainly board games was my big thing. I had a little board gaming group that would just play a lot of German board games, and I think that helped because a lot of those mechanics in board games translate over into mini games and puzzles and stuff. So that was fun, but no design experience there at that point.
So what was the biggest challenge that you guys had to face when you were making Secrets Can Kill?
Well, first, we were a new team, and half of the team was in Albuquerque. Then it shifted, and I guess everybody came back to Bellevue by the end of the game. Really, we were all learning how to work as a team and to kind of create this game around Nancy Drew. So communication, I think, was probably the hardest.
Yeah, because there was a lot of assets, but not a lot of documentation to go with it.
No documentation.
Yeah, and I remember you brought down the art director at that time, Laura Henyon, to Albuquerque so we could all meet.
I think the hardest part was just finishing it. It went really long, much longer than we have. I mean, we got it down to a science now. I remember at home, I'd take my work home and I'd get up at like 3 in the morning and start another render on the computer, then go back to bed and get up another half hour and check it and make some tweaks and keep rendering. I was like doing that almost every night, it seemed like, for a while there, just to get it done.
It was really true. There were 3 of us in the art department at that time, counting Laura, the art director. So it was a big push at the end to get work finished. That was a challenge.
But I think, communication was the biggest challenge. But the good part is that everybody was so excited and enthusiastic and passionate. It didn't seem to matter what obstacle came up because we just figured out a way to overcome it. So there was a lot of trial and error in the first game.
What is something funny or memorable that you remember from the process when you made that first game?
So I remember we just had a voice recorder, so we thought, let's make silly voicemail messages when you would call different places like Maxine's or and Eloise's. So we all gathered around the microphone and just ad-libbed, and it was really funny.
When I was basically kind of an art assistant helping Laura, the art director, and I just came in, sat down, started doing some work, and I heard some rustling going on. I'm like, what's going on? And I looked behind me, and Glenn, who was our contract 3D artist at the time, came out of a sleeping bag from underneath his desk. Freaked the heck out.
Kris, do you have any memories?
I remember the marketing at the end. Right when we finished the game, I remember Megan giving me a huge stack of sell sheets to take with me to spread around town, and I remember I was going to visit my family back east, so I was supposed to take them across the country and spread them around, and so there was really some guerrilla marketing that went on at that point.
Come a long ways, for sure. Say, what do you think of the original Secrets Can Kill now that's been 12 years since you've made it?
It was very surprising to replay it when we were looking at it to remaster. I mean, it was so much more different. It was shorter. The storyline wasn't as intricate as our current ones. The puzzles were pretty primitive, and I think there was only like 7 inventory objects, and now we have at least 30.
We also kind of approached it a little differently. It was, I think, the only game where we hid these hidden messages all throughout the game that were really outside of Nancy's world and universe. It was just like the designer hiding messages in there, maybe about the game, but it was, if you looked at different book spine titles in the library, you could actually, spell out a sentence or something that, that might say something, mysterious.
Meaningful.
But it was like, if you were actually a player in the world, you'd be like, where'd that come from? So we kind of changed our design tactic on that later on, but that was the one game where we did kind of funny things like that.
The player wouldn't know this, but a lot of the articles are written by our family members, or some of the photos in the game, like for example
our photo is in the game of us. That's right.
In the student dome where Hal Tanaka sits, there's the bulletin board for, I believe it's student of the month.
Oh, or something.
That's in the where Connie was at.
Oh, it's in where Connie is.
Yeah.
And so that's, pictures of ourselves and our friends and family.
What kind of other things did you put in there that you don't think our fans would necessarily have picked up on playing through the games that you guys hid in there?
Oh, I remember in the opening cinematic, Daryl does that, which is an old Carol Burnett move to say hi, Mom.
My son Sam's in the teacher's lounge. He's in a photo next to the computer monitor. He's like a year old or 2 years old, and now he's like a grown man. It feels like he's like 13 now. So it's.
I can't remember if that's the one my nieces were in, but they, when I told them, they said, do we talk when you press on us? No, maybe in the next game. But what was really neat is when we got together with the girls to have them play games at that time to see what they thought about Nancy Drew and games in general. And girls didn't really play games back then, and so their feedback actually helped us to improve on existing gameplay rather than just perpetuate stereotypes. Like they would say when they're playing a shooter, we don't mind shooting, however, we prefer a reason before we shoot. Like if they were beating up my little sister, I'd be all over them. And so they really helped us, their input in terms of making the games, that they wanted.
What are some of the changes that you think have made the biggest impact in the newer games versus the original one?
I think the design, the tighter design, the kind of the overarching puzzle that is kind of weaved into the game is very compelling and interesting to follow for this new game. I think the old game was much more open and just kind of, you could explore, but kind of do a little bit more wandering and trying to piece together what was going on. This one, I think it's just more cleverly put together, I think. Also the graphics, I think, make a big difference with the new lighting, and just a little bit updated. The 3D characters definitely is a huge difference that the players will notice.
Something the players won't notice is that we now use Lua rather than our proprietary scripting language, which was just horrendous. It was very 20th century, so even though that doesn't affect the players, it really affected us and made it much more easy to put the games together.
I was going to say, I feel really nostalgic playing this game, going back, but as far as the fun factor is concerned, I really like that the arcade-style mini-games are now included in the new Secrets Can Kill.
Right, Barnacle Blast.
Yeah, it's just really fun.
I remember when we were on our first or second game, people would say, so what are you going to do after that? I mean, nobody's going to want to play a third Nancy Drew game.
Did you imagine that you guys would be still making these games 23, games later?
No.
No.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, it's crazy to think about. Every once in a while I have a list of the codes and stuff because I can't even keep track of which games are in what order anymore, and I'll just look through this list and go, oh my gosh, I've been here for all of these. That is crazy. It's real, and it's something I'm really proud of, that we've been able to last that long and create just this wonderful collection.
I think there was just the team that, we've had all these years. Everyone is so talented and creative, and everybody, there's this creative collaboration that's gone on from the very beginning, where everybody feels comfortable to kind of add their ideas into the mix.
The sky's the limit, I think, for Nancy Drew and for this market. I mean, there's so many stories that you can tell, so many places where you can go, so many different people that you can meet, and it's fun reinventing Nancy Drew for other platforms as well. So
We get feedback all the time from players that are like, I really want to see Nancy go to Egypt or go to Greece or go, and there's like, yeah, that's great, that sounds awesome. Yeah, we got to do that one of these times. And
I think the other piece is we're all storytellers. We all come from very different backgrounds, math, architecture, film, art, but we all love to tell a story. And in these Nancy Drew games, there's kind of this weave of fact and fiction, and it's a lot of meaningful content, historical references and characters, cultural discovery. You learn about the folklore. So you learn, but you're having so much fun you don't even realize.
What mystery would you like to see Nancy Drew solve in the future, now that we're talking about, the sky's the limit?
I actually liked going back to Secrets Can Kill, and I kind of want to do some retro stuff.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind going back to like Haunted Mansion and maybe something was left unfound.
I might like to see Nancy go to Thailand
Mhm.
to, so we could showcase the architecture of Thailand. That would be great.
so many great characters, so much great, some of these secondary characters that you never see, like Krollmeister
Bringing them back.
Sunny June, and all these people that have kind of built up this universe. It's great to be able to go back and draw from some of that and create more content from that.
I like her traveling just to different countries. I think that's so interesting. Egypt would be fascinating.
I think it'd be also fun to take her back home. We haven't explored
Yeah.
River Heights, and there's just so much there
That's
too.
true.
And this just wide geography of River Heights, it would be fun to look at.
Do you guys have anything else that you'd like our fans to know about the new version of Secrets Can Kill Remastered?
There's clues everywhere, so
Oh, you really gave that one away.
We're very
close
mysterious.
Spoiler.
We hope to see a lot more games from you guys.
And thank you to
Thank
the
you.
fans.
We hope you
Thank
enjoy
you.
this next game.